All right, folks, and welcome back to Procreate. So this lesson is a little bit different than some of our other lessons. This lesson is about some of the tools that I have found outside of Procreate on an iPad to help me in my journey as an artist. So this is just a real quick 5-minute, you may not know these things exist type of lesson. So one of the biggest things for references is the ability to draw human hands, the ability to draw human features. One of the things that the iPad has is a ton of great apps. So these, of course, are not required to use the iPad. I don't want to make it sound like that. But these are the apps that have passed the tests for me. So if we go to my iPad later. All right, so if we go to my iPad to desktop, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the apps that I have found as an artist that make a difference. So one of the best ones here I've found is Art Pose. Now, when we get into the projects, there's going to be a ton of Art Pose screenshots that I'm going to give you. Art Pose is a nice tool. It takes anatomically correct people, and you can go through and change the skeletal structure from skin to skull. And then you can go through and change things. All right, let's go ahead and modify the pose. So once we do this, we can make them more muscular. We can make them far less muscular. Let's go ahead and make this guy not so muscular. We can zoom in, we can zoom out. And then one of the coolest things about Art Pose is the ability to shade and do different lights. So there's different lighting. And if we zoom out of here, we can change the perspective of that lighting so that we can dynamically light our subject. Now, there's a lot more that can be done with it. You can change hairstyles. So you can change the lighting in here. You can also go through and pose this individual. So if you wanted to change this, you could go through and pose different features with this individual. This posing, folks, is absolutely crucial. Now, once you're done posing, you can bring back in the light. You can bring back in the camera. So let's say now we have a light and we have a camera. We can zoom in. We can zoom out. So, and then when you're ready, if you wanted to hit this pose, you could go ahead and save it as a screenshot. Now, where do you find the screenshots? You can save it as a photo, and the photos end up magically in your photos. So that's how you can use Art Pose in your work. You're going to see a lot of the screenshots I use as we get into the later lessons are Art Pose related or reference related. Now, the other program that I have found useful is one called Handy. So let's go ahead and click on Handy, and guess what I've got up here? An actual set of hands. Now, Handy's got a lot of really cool stuff. You can go through, and it does hands, feet, heads, and allows you to save poses. Let's go ahead and do head. Now, you can go through and go to anatomy next. You can go through the female, and they give planar heads, male heads and planar, or one of the things you're going to see with me a lot is this edition of the human skull. So if you wanted to do a skull and you're not sure how the perspective should look on that skull, you can adjust it any way you want in order to rotate it. Let's get that ominous downward look, shall we? Okay, we're going to tilt that bad boy down right about there. All right, perfect. Now we can go ahead and we can light it. You can move different lights in different directions. So let's say we want a really intense 3/4 light. That looks good. We can go back, and then we can go through and do a lot of different stuff with this, right? So let's go ahead now and just save it. We can go through, save the pose, hit OK, call it Skull 1, and return, hit OK, and then we can also take a screenshot and save it. All right, now where does this show up? You can go again to Photos, and there's our screenshot of our skull. Now, how does this work with Procreate? Because you're saying, I know this is a Procreate course. Again, these are just extras. If you like them, use them. If not, you can certainly grab from the internet anywhere that you've got them. So we go into the gallery, we come in here, we go to image, we insert a photo, go to all photos, and there it is, folks, inside of Procreate. And then we can just go ahead and rename the layer, and off we're running. All right, so those are just a couple things that I've found working through different apps that I would say I would recommend to anybody that's doing any sort of work on the iPad. Now, if this doesn't work for you, you can certainly grab any photo from Google, but these are a couple that I think are well worth having in your arsenal as an iPad artist. All right, folks, we'll talk to you in the next one.